Hi, I wanted to talk to you today about personal branding for introverts. I'm going to go into some of the best tips and I'm going to give you like an easy recipe. I don't want to say that it's formulaic because we're not formulas. We don't work on formulas. We are all extremely different, and even one extrovert, say an INFP, is very different from another INFP. So there can't be a formula. But what I am going to give you are questions for you to ponder. I want you to journal on this. So you're going to have to maybe mark this video and come back to it because there's a lot of stuff in it I think that's going to be very helpful if you're on a personal branding journey. This is definitely for introverts. Next month, I'm going to do extroverts. Okay. So let me start. And I actually took some notes. Yay. And look how sloppy my stuff is. You can so tell me NTP. It's just all like written down. I'll drabble, but I'll follow it. Okay. So anyway, my name is Nina Zapala. I talk about spiritual personality typing. It's a roadmap to your true self. So let me explain this really quick, and then I want to jump into what is the topic of the video. So when I talk about spiritual personality typing, I'm elevating Myers-Briggs into a personality paradigm that's focused more on the idea that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. What does that mean? That means that I believe we are both a physical and a non-physical being. We have a spirit self that's connected to divine intelligence, to all that is. That is what informs us. The logical mind, or the personality, as I've been saying, is just how this logical aspect, this divine intelligence, it feeds through us into our spirit or our soul mind, spirit mind, soul. And your soul uses your personality type to express itself, to take form in the physical world. Your logical mind doesn't have the capabilities that your divine intelligence has. So that's what I talk about. And that's a whole video on itself. So I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole with that, but I just want you to understand where I'm coming from. So when I start using the terms I'm going to be using in this video for personal branding, you're not like, what the hell is she talking about? So let's jump into that, okay? The first thing I want to talk about is, and it's one of my pillars for spiritual personality typing, I talk about your North Star. See, traditionalists in Myers-Briggs talk about your dominant trait, and all that means, your dominant trait is actually the trait that you use the most. So it's primary, right? But to me, dominant means controlling, commanding, overshadowing the rest. I don't want us to think like that anymore. That might have worked in previous years in a patriarchal society. We're no longer living in a patriarchal society. You can tell we're moving into the age of Aquarius, New Earth, however you want to say it. We're in a different plane now, okay? So I don't think the old paradigm's working anymore. That's why I refocused it with a spiritual understanding, so we can step fully into our true selves, okay? So the North Star is one of the pillars I use to help you do that. So if you think of the North Star, you think of it as a guiding light, right? It's directional. It guides you. It's way more positive than a demanding, controlling, dominant trait. So that's just a perspective shift, right? It's more spiritually related, but it's also more positive. It's lighter. Do you want to be domineering, or do you want to be somebody's North Star? Or do you want to be your own North Star? You choose. This is all up to you. You do you. I always say that, okay? So that's the first part of understanding your personal brand. The next thing I want to talk to you about, and I think it's really interesting, are the questions you need to ponder to start your personal brand journey. Who you are, what you do, and why it matters. If you can answer those questions, you're well on your way to establishing your personal brand. Notice this though, because everyone says, oh, I can tell you your why. I'm like, well, how do you know my why if you don't know my who or my what? So I think people that say, oh, I can do your why, and maybe that's something you believe in, and that's fine. It doesn't work for me. I can't jump into my why until I understand who I am, what I do, and why what I do matters. That's just me. So again, this is for you to intake, and what resonates, take. What doesn't, leave it, right? Again, you do you. I always say that. I'm not your guru. I'm just here to shed and teach you different perspectives. I'm here to stop the stinking thinking. That's what I'm here to do, right? So I want to help you do this. So, and I want to talk about this too, because a lot of people get like, oh, your personal brand. They just think they want to speak this just from an entrepreneurial standpoint. It's just not from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Your personal brand is your personal brand, whether you show up in a corporate space, your workspace, or an entrepreneurial space. All right. So, I want to, and I want to tell you something. Like, I didn't resonate real good in the corporate space. I am an ENTP, and I'll just give you a really good example. But this was my favorite corporate job I ever had. I worked at Jackson Hewitt as part, of course, their communications, marketing, branding, PR team. And so, as an ENTP does, if you're familiar with ENTPs, you're like, oh God, an ENTP. Because we can be very intense, very opinionated. We sometimes don't have a filter. I'm getting better at that because I'm using my spiritual aspects of myself. But so this is my story. So I'm at Jackson Hewitt. We're at the headquarters. It used to be in Virginia Beach. They bought out. But let me just tell you the story. So I'm coming in, grab my coffee, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to some people, and I noticed like all these cartridges, all these printer cartridges, because back in the day, look, my hair's gray. We use printer cartridges, these big things, right? In all of our offices, obviously, to print out the tax forms. So I'm like, what the hell is that? I mean, they were stacked up all the way to the top of the wall to the bottom of the floor. And there wasn't just one row, there was rows and rows. I mean, like covered this whole wall. What the hell is that? And they're like, oh, those are printer cartridges. I'm like, where are they going? And somebody's like, I don't know if we take them to landfills or what we're going to do. I'm like, what the hell? This is like this. No, there's got to be a better way. And I'm going off, just as typical as what an ENTP does. Like, I can do this. If you know ENTPs, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm sitting there mouthing off, and I didn't know John Hewitt, the CEO, was behind me. So I'm going off doing an ENTP, what we do. And he just taps me on the shoulder. And he's like, you know what, Nina? You're right. And since you brought that to my attention, I want a proposal of what you'll do on my desk in 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay. I'm a smart ass, Okay. And so I did. I put a proposal on his desk in 2 weeks. And within a month, we rolled out this really cool cause marketing campaign, a cause campaign, where it benefited the Shriners. So what I did is I was like, okay, who can use these? How does it work? So I did all my research, and I found that the Shriners could take these cartridges and resell them. And the profits that they would get, they would obviously roll back into their nonprofit, the Shriners Hospital, which during the time I was in the inception, it was when I was working with them, they did a lot of stuff for burn victims, which very much coalesced with our brand because it was a lot of lower income, and it just worked to help everybody. So we shipped them out, and they paid for the shipping, but we shipped them all out, and it was a win-win. And it's so funny, we started getting really good press. Like back in the day, okay, my hair's gray. Look up Ann Richards. She was the governor of tech. She loved this. She would show up at every event because we'd have some of the Shriners into our offices, we made this whole promotion out of it. It went gangbusters, right? All because of my flippant little mouth. But I tell you, that's part of who I am. Like, I will speak out and say something, but I can usually somehow find a solution. Don't you love that? Solution to what I'm talking about. Okay? But that's my personal brand. That's how I act. But that's a personal brand in action in a corporate setting. So I'm saying it's not always just from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So I wanted to tell you that story because I thought you'd find it hysterical and so typical of an ENTP. So let's go back to these questions, and I want to give you an example of how I would answer them, okay? Please note, I want you to kind of get a journal or some kind of notebook out, whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be fancy. And write down these questions, because as you begin this journey, you'll answer the questions in one way. And as you start getting more into the spiritual aspects of yourself, letting that higher divine mind lead your life, right? Settling into the spirit mind and letting it speak through your personality type, your personal reality, right? You're going to begin to see your life shift. So you're going to probably answer these questions a little bit later, or a little bit different later on down the road. I get this question a lot. It's like, well, I can't be the same personality type because I'm so different. I'm like, no, you're so, oh, that's my doggy. You're so different because you've evolved. It's not that your personality changed, the traits have evolved within you. And you're now coming from a more spiritual aspect, which is just so beautiful, okay? So I'm gonna answer these questions from my perspective. And then I'm posting this on Friday, so you have the whole weekend to kind of play around with this and just start getting into it, start journaling and go into this and see what you come up with, right? So who are you? So I'm gonna answer this question. I'm endlessly curious. I'm a rebel thinker. I'm intellectual. I love to gather with like-minded people to eat and have deep conversations. I'm unconventional. I don't know if I said that. I'm a nature lover. I'm a meditative walker. I love to walk, right? I'm not a fan of superficial conversations that lead to nowhere. I'm just not. And I absolutely adore flowers. Love, love, love flowers. I'm a flower freak. So that's who I am. And if you noticed, I didn't say I'm a mother, which I am. I didn't say a sister, which I am. I didn't say female or male. Because to me, those are just the roles we play in this patriarchal society. I think when you start getting into the more spiritual aspects of yourself, you're going to see yourself on such a much higher conscious level. And you're going to seek those things. And you could be a mom that loves being a mom. I'm not saying that I don't love being a mom. It's just not something where I sit and focus on, I want to be the best mom. Because I think some of us, when we say like, oh, you don't like being a mother, that's a bad thing. No, it's not. I like other things as well. Why can't I be like a multi, not purpose, but like a multi-dimensional being, which we are. So it's not just one thing. So I wanted to point that out because I think a lot of us get in this trap, of saying like, oh, you don't love being a mother? Well, of course I love my son. I love, do I love being a mother all the time? No, I really don't. It's a lot of responsibility and it's tough. It's a lifelong thing. I try to be as good at it as I can, and I don't shirk my responsibilities. I step fully in, but I don't love it all the time. Yep, I know. I'll probably get some hate on that, but that's okay. Now, what I do, I bring to life who you are, what you do, and why it matters in business and in life. Because I think when you first understand yourself from an individual level, you'll definitely understand yourself in business. It's your personal brand comes in. So you have to understand yourself first before you can start creating a personal brand. I mean, it is called a personal brand for a reason, right? So that's what I do. That's my true calling. Okay. Now, why this matters. This is where it gets interesting, right? And this is my truth. I spent too much of my life living it narrated by another person's expectations, opinions, and beliefs. I've shed my false self. And now I teach others to do the same using spiritual personality typing. I got so stuck in trying to meet and chase and realize everyone's expectations for me, and I totally ignored my own. I lost myself, which many of us do, which many of us are figuring out. That's what we're doing now. And that's why everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out, I'm so lost. Because you lost yourself. And when you lose yourself, when I was in this state, what I didn't realize is that I had separated myself into two. And I was heavily focused on this external world, of being in the external world, of chasing that carrot, of wanting more, doing more, being more. But when you're in that world, there's no creative thinking really going on. It's a repeat of whatever. I mean, just look at the politicians. Look at how many businesses are just, that's why AI got so popular. Like, oh, I don't need to think. I can just go ahead and do this. No. Your true creativity comes from your higher mind, your higher identity, which is fed through divine intelligence. It's not fed through your logical mind. Your logical mind will burden you if you try to create from it. That's why, like, we're all like, and that's why I felt like I was so overwhelmed. I was so stressed out. I had lost myself because I'd lost the understanding of had to create through that divine mind. And once you start getting into that, you're like, oh my God, this is so much easier. It's like, it just takes this weight off you. I'm telling you, once you start doing it, you're like, oh my God, this is so much better. Yes. So this is what I do now. This is what matters to me. So if I could teach one people, my goal is to teach 10,000 women. Make this happen. I want to make this happen. I've been praying on this, right? So that's what I want to do. But if I could teach one person, because this is how cool this is, because we all know we're all connected, right? Everything's connected. It's all connected into that one divine intelligence that created everything that we're on the planet. Look at my backyard, how beautiful. I mean, come on. So if we're all connected, then we have this divine intelligence like coursing through us. So much so that it's in every cell of our body. So people go, I can't do this. Yes, you can. You just haven't been shown the right way to do it. So you can do this. But when we lose that aspect of ourselves, that's when we get all wonky. That's when we step into the chaos, right? And so you pull yourself away from your true self into the false self. And that's where all hell breaks loose. So we don't want to do that. I know. This took me a long time to figure this out. I'm talking about gray hair here. So, and it's not easy. Answering these questions is not easy. You think I just came up with this like this? No. Like I said, I went through a 7-year life tsunami. I've been learning about personality typing for the last decade and a half. Spirituality comes naturally to me because my mother was highly spiritual. So I was kind of seated in that at a very young age. At the age of 10, like my mother was sitting on the phone talking to her sister. And they're talking about all their deceased relatives. I'm like, oh, Uncle Wally said he's doing this. And Aunt Stell said she's doing this. And I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? What? My mother's gone batshit crazy, right? But so finally, one day, because I was at the desk doing my homework and the phone was right there. So, you know, you couldn't possibly not hear. I said, Mom, what's going on? Like, how are you talking to Aunt Stella and Uncle Wally? They've been gone for years. And she just dog patted me on the head, like my mother would do. And she just says, oh, honey, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's real. I want you to really think about that. Because what she said to me has affected and impacted my whole life. And I hope it impacts you in a positive way as well. So thank you, Mom, for that. Okay? So, okay. I'm done about all that. So let's step into the last thing I wanted to share with you. What you're going to learn on the blog. Because I write these blogs. Not that I, oh, let's go write a blog. It takes hours for me to do this, right? It just does. But I really enjoy teaching, well, that's another story. And I don't need to share that with you. But if I'm going to do these blogs, I want you to learn something from it. I want you to take something away, because if I'm going to put all this time and effort for it, I want it to have value. And I believe all my blogs do have value. And I think they're only getting better as I get better, right? So this is what you're going to learn. Insights into your personal brand type, spiritual led tips, your persona's North Star, which is really important. That's that dominant trait that the traditionalists talk about. I talk about it in the perspective of your North Star. Your superpowers, celebrities who share your persona. And why I listen to celebrities is like, I'm not into the whole celebrity thing at all. And it's funny because I worked with a lot of celebrities just through my travel career. Met some really nice people, met some really wonky people. Like, it's just life, right? It is what it is. But I listed the celebrities there because I think it's interesting to show and show you what I teach all the time. It's like, you're definitely not defined by a personality type, because that's why I showed all these different celebrities. Yes, there is a similarity. Don't get me wrong. There's a similarity that runs true, but when you see your different style of personality types, like, ooh, they're doing this, it might just spark something else creative in you. Like, I do have the capacity to do that. I am creative. Every single personality type is creative. We're created from a creative being. So how could we not? So don't let anybody tell you you're not creative, because that's a misnomer. Okay, that's part of the beliefs of the false self. Please don't believe that. But seeing all those different celebrities allows you to see how cool it is. Like, oh, and it might just spark some, oh, they do that. I didn't know that. They're like that. Oh, and it might just encourage you that you have this little voice that's been saying, write or sing or whatever, sculpt, paint. I don't care what it is. Create systems, Be the next Marie Kondo. Isn't she the one that does all the, organizing and efficiency? It doesn't matter what it is. I'm just showing you that there's so many aspects to you. So don't limit yourself. Okay, I could have said that easier, right? Just don't limit yourself. That's what that was about. And of course, as always, there's journal prompts. So I hope this helped you. I shared a lot. There's a lot in the blog. But I hope that you see crafting a personal brand is an adventure, right? It's getting curious with yourself. It's playing around. It's experiencing, right? It's seeing challenges as like, oh, this is challenging about my personality type. Well, go into your personality type and see why it's challenging. It's unbalanced. And if it's challenging, that means you're going to learn something. That's why the North Star is it's more positive thinking. Don't see challenges as a roadblock. When you were a kid, you're like, you fell when you started walking. You say, oh, I can't do this anymore. And you just sat there for the rest of your life. No, you got your ass up and you started walking. You fell, you walked. You fell, you walked. You took a step, you walked. Same with riding a bicycle. You took the training wheels off and head down the road. I have the scars to prove it. I flipped head over heels. I mean, it's just what you do. You keep on going. Don't limit yourself. Because when you limit yourself, you stop yourself, right? So there's a lot on the blog to learn about. So I hope you enjoy the blog. And if you have questions, pop them in the comments below. I'm here to answer your questions. And anybody that's on my YouTube channels, I know I'm growing slowly but surely. And I love it. I love it. Oh, because this is when I stopped. This is where I had a moment where I stepped into something. We are all connected. And this is when I want to come back and tell you this. When you separate from yourself, you put a hole in the tapestry of life where we're all creating and we're building this web, this beautiful tapestry of the collective. And when you're not out there being who you truly are, and you've stepped back and you're not participating from your higher self, it creates a little hole in the web, because what you're here to do affects so many people. You don't realize that. So when you don't do what you're here to do, it creates a hole, because the people that needed you break a link. They're not getting what they need from you. So you severed this little bit of web there. Do you see that? And that's where the little holes of the universal tapestry began. We don't want that. We're moving into the new earth. We want everyone connected, everyone just being who they are, and helping everybody take that next step. You learn through your backstory, right? I learned through my backstory. Now this is what I do. This happens for most people. I'm not saying everybody, no, but if you're listening to my channel, probably resonates with you, right? And if you want to learn more, I'm so happy there's a bee here today. If you want to learn more, there's a lot of this in the book. Now the book talks too about travel, but why I love travel, it's a great way to go out in the world and experience yourself, right? Embrace different cultures. What does that teach you, right? when you're out experiencing things, you're learning. You're learning about yourself. So then you can teach. If you're not experiencing, you can't teach. You're just repeating someone else's narrative. I think it's really, really important. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you next week. And thank you so much for following me. It just makes me feel so good when I have questions, because I want you to stop your stinking thinking and start thinking differently. I want you to really know yourself so you can leave that false self behind. It's time. It's just time, right? So I'm very, very grateful for all of you that are stopping by, learning more about me, but more important, learning more about yourself. See y'all on the flip side. Bye for now, Nina.